right, so I recently retubed this entire thing, with the exception of the effects loop preamp tube, but I think we'll be alright. New power amp tubes, new preamp tubes, and it sounds great. I fixed some issues, and now I want to go ahead and set up a new pedal board just for this. I use this surprisingly for clean tones. These are the settings I run all the time, and it's just got great mid-range, a really nice top end, and it's great for bluesy stuff, clean stuff. So I'm going to make a pedal board to really make this thing sing. Let's go. All right, so the first thing we're going to need is a solid boost at the beginning of my signal chain. I always have that. So I'm going to select between the only three options that I have right now, since my favorite one is on my board, which is the Timmy. Now, we have the MXR Duke here, and this bad boy actually has a lot of treble in there, which might work out for the clean stuff that I'm trying to do. So that's a strong option. Then we have the SP compressor. This guy can actually give me a really nice boost, and the blend knob helps me get some of that clean signal in, and I never really use it a lot, so that might also be a really good option. Plus, I've been meaning to experiment with the compressor in my signal chain. Then one of my favorites is the NUX or NUX or NUX, whatever, Lacerate FET boost. This thing's pretty badass. One knob, one foot switch. If you hold it down, you get a nice kind of distorted boost activated. So it's two pedals in one, really simple, really clean. I bought this thing used, and NUX is such a good company that they still offered me support when I had an issue with it. Really good company. Anyways, so let's go ahead and decide between the three. I know for a fact that I'm not going to go with the Duke because even though it's pretty cool, it just has a lot of extra top end that just feels kind of harsh. Not really going to work for what I'm trying to do with this board, so it's gone. Next, it's time to decide between these two guys. So, am I trying to lean more towards a compressed sound, or am I trying to do a traditional boost and maybe push the distortion a little bit more? This is pretty cool because I can activate that extra layer of distortion right before my overdrive and give me a little extra push. But then again, I've been wanting to do more of that cool Andy Timmons bendy thing where you bend the note without picking it and you really get to hear it pop with the SP compressor. So I'm kind of torn here. However, I'm going to go ahead and do the SP compressor. It's been a long time. Haven't used it in a rig for a very long time, so I'm going to go with this for now. This next one's going to be tricky. So I need some sort of gain stage. Am I going to do one or two? Now, if I go with certain pedals here, I might be able to pull away. If I go with certain pedals here, I might be able to pull off just one pedal because some of these are pretty powerful. Something like the Taiji drive from Mosky or the DS1W actually has a lot of gain, just like these two over here, the Blues Driver and the Screaming Blues. And I might be able to pull off one of those guys and have all the gain I need on cap. So let's go ahead and get rid of the ones that I know I'm not going to be using. So believe it or not, I'm not using the Bad Monkey. Reason being is, this thing I basically bought for the memories. It was 40 bucks used, believe it or not, and it doesn't quite scratch that spot for me. This pot needs to be cleaned. It is so scratchy. It just doesn't give me what I'm looking for, and I just don't feel like wrestling with anything on this board. I want it to be really straight to the point and reliable, so that right there is the reason why this is gone. Next, TS9 Tube Screamer. I love this thing. I really do. However, my Orange OR15 is very mid-range heavy. I don't need anything boosting the mid-range. So for that reason, this and my 808 are gone. All right, so things are getting pretty serious now. Now I can tell you right now, even though I love having a two-band EQ and a blues driver, I always end up with the blues driver the way it is. So I have a Wazacraft blues driver on my board now, and my normal blues driver might be the contender here. I'm still not sure, but I know that I don't need the two-band EQ. Okay, it's getting tight now. So, as I said, I love a blues driver, and I definitely love the way that the DS1 sounds on my Orange amp. Plus, it's orange.
which is just, come on, orange pedal, orange amp, it's a great combination. But I really wanted to think about adding the Taiji drive into this because it just has so much like extra gain, and I can really get away with just this pedal. So I think because of that, something flat like the Nobel's Natural Overdrive is going to have to leave this mix. I need something that has a lot of extra gain and not something subtle like this, even though I do love it. Now, here comes the question. Do we want a lot of gain that can possibly go into fuzz territory and be pretty flat? That's where the boost driver comes in. Do we want to go with something top mount, have a whole bunch of gain on tap? Or do we want something in the middle, which is the DS1? I have to make a decision. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the boost driver. I know, crazy. But I just feel like this isn't what I need to do for this clean tone. I really want to have something unique. So here's the real question. Am I going to go with the Taiji drive, providing a whole bunch of gain, a whole new world of tones, or one of my favorites, the DS1W, which just sounds so good on that amp? Sometimes you just got to go with tried and true. But I feel like I got to let you guys hear something different. So you know what? Goodbye. And we are going with the Taiji drive. That should be different enough, plus it's pretty. And it will give us a little extra. However, if I change my mind, I can just switch it up with the DS1. Next up, we need modulation here. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going for as far as the modulation sounds on this rig. Do I want something chimey, like chorus? Or do I want something a little bit different, like vibrato or tremolo, maybe good old-fashioned phase 90? So first, let's make that decision. Are we going with something chimey like chorus, or are we going with something a little bit more out there? I feel like I've done chorus enough for my life. Yeah, I love all of these choruses, but I just know that it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to turn it on and say, I don't need that volume boost. So immediately, all of these beautiful, wonderful choruses are out of the picture. Now, let's focus on these guys. Am I going to be going with something like phaser, vibrato, or tremolo? One thing that's pretty cool here is that this one has a harmonic tremolo setting, which kind of has a phaser sound to it. So I can kind of get rid of the phase 90 knowing I have that there ready for me. Now here's a real moment of truth. Traditionally speaking, I always have a vibrato. I love vibrato. I have the Wazacraft vibrato, and this is what got me started on it. It actually has a really warm tone to it. I know that it's the same circuit, but I feel like maybe the cheaper parts kind of lead to some top-end loss. Maybe the buffer isn't the same, and it's great. It has this like warm kind of tone to it. I really like it. And then we have the tremolo. I never use tremolo. Not to mention, I hate the dual foot switch design. I have a size 14 wide foot. This doesn't work for me. I'm going to be totally realistic. This is what I want. This is what I rely on. This makes me happy. By now, you guys should know that I'm a delay fiend. I love delay. So here's the thing. This is a pretty small board. And because of that, anything too big is not really going to work. So as much as I love you, I need to say goodbye, Timeline. This just isn't the board for you, buddy. Next. If I have to choose between the Carbon Copy and the Carbon Copy Deluxe, you already know what I'm going to say. This thing is just not for me. I need to crank up the mix. It's too big. I don't need the tap tempo. So lovely as it is, no thank you. Not for this board. Now then, Behringer Vintage Delay. This thing's pretty rad. I believe it's kind of like a DM2 or a DM3, something like that, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Either way, as rad as it is, and I've modified it to have a longer delay time, this thing is not really going to do it. $25 though, that's pretty rad. I'm going to say that this is for another board. All right, now things are getting interesting. So we've got to pick between Bucket Brigade and Digital. Now, the Joshua is pretty fantastic, and it's got a lot going on for it. And since this is a small mono board, this is actually a really good choice. I've got modulation, I've got octaves, I've got subdivisions, I've got endless delay echoes. This is actually a pretty strong contender, so I'm going to keep this here for now. Now, if I have to choose between the carbon copy and the DM2W, I always lean towards the carbon copy. It's darker, it's got the built-in modulation, and the DM2W is great, but it's very present, very in your face, and I'm not sure I need that with this board, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. All right, this is the tricky part. Again, my issue with this pedal is when it runs in stereo, it kind of cuts the level, but this is all going to be mono. Everything's going straight into the front of the amp. This might actually work, and I have tap tempo on it. Plus, I never use it. However, there is a huge weakness to this. I need to use the included power supply with it, and I always get a really intense kind of electronic 60 cycle hum out of this pedal. It needs a particular power supply. It just, am I going to risk it? Am I going to risk having that issue? Or am I going to go with Old Faithful here? Again, there's something about keeping things simple. We're going to go ahead and stick with the carbon copy. There's something to be said about something simple, classic, and to the point. We have built-in modulation and everything we need right here. Last but not least, we need some sort of reverb. I'm going to say that the Soul reverb, as awesome as it is not going to make it on this board. Now, this thing actually, the eyes light up white. Raziel lights up white when it's activated. This pedal was custom built for me by someone on Reverb years ago for a birthday gift. I really was hoping to get a second pedal made, but I never got around to it. It was going to be the Kane drive with Kane, the other character on the pedal. It's basically going to be a tube screamer, but this thing was wired incorrectly, and I've tried to fix it for years. But basically, whenever you turn it on, it's a boost. It doesn't even have that much reverb. It's just this insane boost. I used it as a solo button, just a boost with reverb on it, which kind of makes sense for something like Soul Reverb. So whatever. That's cool to look at, but not functional for what I'm trying to do. Next, the RV5 is pretty wonderful. I actually really like this for the modulation setting. Has great spring, plate, everything. So this is a strong, strong contender, and it's a lot smaller than the Big Sky. Now, the Slow, awesome as it is and great as it sounds, actually it's also built to go in front of the amp. So this might actually be a really strong contender too. But I know that the Afterneath is not in the mix here. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love this pedal. I like layering it with other reverbs and delays. I kind of call it my piano sustain pedal because I just turn it on and it sustains the notes beautifully. So having said that, I kind of want to keep it, but no, we're not doing this. This is just not the one. Now, let's see here. Are we going to keep it small or are we going to go big with the Big Sky? Damn it. All right, this is tricky. So looking at the board now, we don't have that much space, but we might be able to fit this guy in. It'll be tight, but it would work. I don't feel like struggling with anything. Sorry, Big Sky. We might not have enough room, but you were going to win if it weren't for that. All right, guys. This is where I really have a hard time. I love the RV5. And the Slow, I never get to use it. And it's meant to go into the front of the amp. It has a low setting. You know what? I think that for the sake of being different and having something new to work with, let's go ahead and use the Slow. All right, that's our board. Let's go ahead and make it. All right, there we are. So let's go ahead and get this plugged in. I've got it hooked up to an MXR power supply here. And let's go ahead and see what it sounds like on my Orange.
What is it about your smile that makes me want to sing?